name is Onias Mlambo from Agricura. Next slide. Okay, so we are going to begin with the definition of integrated pest management. I think most of you is not the first time hearing about this term. So I'm saying you have to consider all available pest control techniques and other measures that discourage the development of pest population while minimizing risk to human health and environment. So we are saying, farmer akauya ku office kana kwadzidza ku ZFC kana kwangu inini kana akaona tsitsi ku Agricura ya kubasa kwedu. The first option that farmers want is a chemical. I think apa ngatimbobatsirana mafama kana ukaona cabbage rako richirumwa, what's the first thing that comes into your mind? Let's be honest with each other. Cabbage rarumwa, what's the very first thing that comes into your mind? Anyone? But I know you made it, Mr. Craig. Control. Okay, thanks, Mr. Craig is being technical. He says control. I want farmers control. Control using what? Because there are many strategies that you can use to control. What? This one is saying roga. Thank you for being honest. So I'm saying IPM, we have to consider all the available options. Roga or chemical application should be the last resort. But I know farmers want to do that. Let's go to the next slide. So we are saying in a natural ecosystem, there are no pests. Mr. Craig and I'm we call that the food chain. So in a natural ecosystem, there are no pests. It's a food chain. Okay, let's go to the next slide. So there's no pest, right? It's a natural food chain, right? Let's go to the next slide. There's no pest there, right? So the first thing that you have to do as a farmer is to keep your plant healthy. That is very important. You have to make sure that you have got the right plant at the right place with proper planting pattern, appropriate watering regime. Mafama edu mutumeni mkuru irrigation scheduling. They only water because they can afford. They only water because I have to irrigate after 2 days. My crop water requirements. Irrigation scheduling. My crops are not in order. You don't have to overwater or to underwater. That is very important. It contributes to the health of the plant. So before thinking of chemicals, make sure you've got a healthy plant. Very critical. Let's go to the next slide. Stress. These days we talk of stress management in plants. You have to make sure that your plant are in a stress. Can a crop in a stress? Stress management is very key. So if your plant is under stress, it reduces photosynthesis. If it reduces photosynthesis, it affects your yield, it affects your quality. The stressors are too dry, too wet, too high or low soil pH. These I have already touched on that. Too low or too high nutrients. Don't apply fertilizers because you can afford. Apply necropiago. Very key. Let's go to the next. Right, biodiversity. Make sure that there is a biodiversity on your farm. Pests are garbage collectors by nature. If you see a pest on your munda, there's something that you are doing very wrong on your farm. Ideally, you are supposed to farm with 0 pests on your farm. Every time you see a pest, there is something that you are doing wrong in terms of the agronomy. Right? Again, let's go to the next slide. You find out that the fertilizers have got about 5-6 elements. 5-6 nutrients. Plants need 17 elements. Let's look at compound D, for example. It has got NPK and what is zinc and what? Sulfur. Boron sulfur. It has got how many? 6 out of 17. Your top dressing has got 1. So we are applying 7 nutrients out of the 17. It is because of those that are missing that your crops go under pest attack, go under disease attack. Every time you see a pest, there is a nutrient that is wrong. The disease triangle. Why do diseases happen on your farm? Right? So the 5 steps that we have to consider in IPM, we have to monitor, we have to identify, we have to evaluate, we have to choose and implement. We'll touch on this in great detail. Let's go to the next slide. So monitoring, the biggest strategy on the farm is the farmer's footstep in the field. You have to monitor. Let us not say what kangona one ka pembene mumunda. Spray. Let us monitor. We only spray when it's necessary. When it becomes a threat to your yield, when it becomes a threat to your quality, pana knows my threshold. Unfortunately, we will not do much yedu. But trikuti susu ngati monitor munda medu before we can apply the chemical. Chemical should be the last option. It's funny, Mr. Graham, I'm from a chemical company, but I'm saying chemicals should be the last one, the last option, right? So on identifying, it's both ways. You have to identify the plant. To notice susuta akutora mshonga takusprayer, maybe crop reaches senescence, yachembera, it has reached physiological maturity. So let's know the plant in terms of the morphology, in terms of the physiology. Kune wango wanouya vachiti kwanzi ndipe mshonga iyo crop yango chembera right. Yachembera, it is reached its state. There's no chemical that is needed there. So it's important to know that. So that's the issue there. Then the other thing is let's identify the pest itself. Is it thrips? Is it aphids? Is it what? Farmers have got a tendency of just applying chemicals when they don't even haven't identified the pest or identified the disease itself. They just quick go to the report. Do you know there is a farmer who told me to packet a grasshoppers kumunda kwake and then they sprayed Diethane M45. Diethane M45 is a fungicide. Grasshopper is a pest. So it happens a lot. It's happening. We talk to farmers on a daily basis. Farmers can do all sorts of things and other things. And did you know, Kuti, pane research yakaitwa ni government last year, yema pesticides. They found out, Kuti, was it in Mberengwa, where they were saying Kuti, they use, okay, I'm not gender sensitive, but they were saying they were using urine, yema ladies, to control fall armyworm. Not just women, but pregnant women. So it has to be a pregnant woman, and then they use to control fall armyworm, and they claim that it was actually what? It was actually working. So farmers do all sorts of things. Some of them are correct, some of them are not correct. Let's go to the next. So identifying the pest, very key. Let's go to the next. Evaluating. We are now saying let's evaluate in terms of the pest populations and also in terms of the damage that those pests are causing to our crops. Let's not just spray chemicals. Let's evaluate first. Farming is a profit-making business. You don't want a chemical bill like a balloon and you're expecting a profit. So very key. These things are not far-fetched. These things is the ideal of what you are supposed to be doing. Commercial farmers do it a lot. It's only us. I'm also a farmer. The small scalers, that's where the problem is. They want to push push chemicals. It's good for chemical companies. They will make money. But we're talking of the proper farming. We have to do integrated pest management. Chemical option should be the last. That's my key take-home message. Let's go to the next. Choose. So you're choosing your available options. Let's go to the next. Implement. Let's go to the next. Right, so these are just, there's cultural, there's mechanical, there's biological, there is chemical control. And we are saying the chemical should be the last. Mechanical, it's an option that you can consider. Biological control, it's an option that you can consider. Cultural is also another thing. So acceptable levels varies between plants and people. Panikme ekuti, ma pest kanari mashoma mumunda. Zvinozosiyana from person to person. And inoti mashoma, just fair kuspray. Someone may say akawanda. But there are certain thresholds that scientists have actually stated to say, can I ask about threshold? Yakada also. Takada talk about scouting, but then it's not in the scope of this presentation. Okay, let's go to the next. Right? Cultural can be soil management. These I have already touched on that. Plant selection, planting times, Wendy has touched on that. Watering, mulching, sanitation. All these things actually contribute in terms of controlling your pests. If you have got sanitation, let's touch on sanitation for example. Unosvika pamunda, anditika, pamunda pekuti pane makabeji akakohwewa, anditika, ndo papasiwa anditika nichiwa makabeji tinosiya mazishizha aya, anditika aripo ipapo, then everything is all over the place. You feel the farmer is actually building hosts, pests and diseases. Those hosts, they actually are by your pests and diseases. Pamunda bedu patukuri mamadomas, pasayed pacho pane munduru, anditika, red spider mite or something is going to migrate from that. So sanitation is very key. Ukatoita sanitation you find you would have reduced pest and disease attack on your farm by a certain margin. So very key, it has to be a holistic approach. Not kuti kuda kuramba uchikondinya with zero sanitation at your farm, uchitemba nekuti ndinozongospray makem. Most farmers, because chemicals are a quick solution, quick knockdown, but it's not sustainable to actually use chemicals in terms of your pocket, in terms of the environment. So let's consider these options. Let's go to the next. These ones, let's go to the next. Right, so paneno the disease triangle. Chinokonzeresa ma disease. It's only three things. We are saying for a disease to occur, there has to be a susceptible host, which is your plant. So your plant, do patinostaura nyaya choice of varieties. Kune mamwe varieties naturally which succumb or naturally which are susceptible. Kune mamwe varieties anenge ari tolerant or resistant debate rambotaura. So there has to be a susceptible host in order for a disease to occur. There has to be a virulent pathogen. The disease causing organism has to be virulent. Could disease eat? The third thing is the environment. So if there's a susceptible host and there is a virulent pathogen and the environment is conducive for a disease to occur, a disease will occur. So what's the duty of a farmer? The duty of a farmer is then to manipulate the things that they can. What am I talking about? Let's say host, for example. It means choice of variety becomes key. By just choosing the right variety, farmer had to do away with the risk. So it means, but this is triangle, one we've already taken it out. You see, so those niggas you get on a farmer in terms of IPM, you are manipulating the things around your disease triangle. Let's go to the next. Okay, there was soil management there. I was just saying my nutrients, apply the right nutrients as required by your crop. If you apply too much nutrients, for example, I can give you an example. If there's too much nitrate or nitrogen in any crop, let's talk of magambo not fall in your maize. It usually comes after your first top dressing. It means can I wait a top dressing yago want this ammonium nitrate because your quantity was not informed by a soil test. So it means there is excess nitrate. So fall ammonium inoteverera excess nitrate. If there is no excess nitrate, there is no fall ammonium that is going to come to your field. It applies to a good example, powder mildew fungi in your cucumber beets. If you look at your cucumbers, your butternuts or your whatever, they will not have powder mildew. It's because your crop is lacking calcium and sulfur. If your crop is not lacking calcium and sulfur, you will not have powder mildew. So, for example, for controlling your powder mildew, when you have not dealt with the calcium and sulfur that is lacking in your crop, powder mildew, but it will always come back because you are not addressing the root cause, you are addressing the symptom. Right? Tillage, this one, I think Wendy have already touched on that. Let's go to the next. Let's go to the next slide. I just want to see what Chichi Ripondo Bandashi explained. Plant selection, I think this one has already been touched. Let's go to the next. Right? Resistant cultivars, I've already explained. Let's go to the next. Healthy plants, I think that was my first explanation. You have to select healthy plants. Let's go to the next. Plant selection. Ngati ngochigare anmuruona slide rangu muona muti wangu wakuda kutovhara tambo yemagetsi. Ngatichigarei zvirimwa zvedu pane space yakakwana yekuti at full maturity they will still have available space. Let's go to the next. Planting dates, someone have already touched on that. Let's go to the next. Let's go to the next. Right? Let's go to the next. Spacing, I think when Dambotora nye kuti kana kune El Nino tunoisa ma 37 to 40,000 compared to my 50-60. So I've already. Then interplanting, that's your intercropping. I think this one farmers know that. Let's go to the next. Watering, issue of scheduling comes into play. Also the irrigation equipment. Tunongozwa kuti isusu kana pane overhead irrigation inopromota diseases. So sometimes you need to make sure that maybe you use drip. Let's say a crop like a crop like cabbages, okay, like tomato for example. In your tomato, if you use your overhead, definitely it means your blight, you're going to suffer because of blight. So you have to probably use your what? Your drip. So it's just those basic things, but they really go a long way in terms of integrated pest management. It's a holistic approach. Let's go to the next. Mulching, someone has explained already. Let's go to the next. Sanitation, I've already explained. Soil solarization, I know this one, farmers don't like it, but in let's say manure edu, for example. We know that manure kana ukamashandisa benefit in terms of water holding, etc. But manure anouya nema weed seeds. So you find kuti masora wangu asingawana munda mako gorera unoshandisa manure. Masora manure anatanga kuya. So you have to solarize them. You have to treat them. Heat treatment. And stuff like that. Kuita my wheat seeds afe, my nematodes afe and stuff like that. So you can go in some manure, also good treater. You start having a new problem. Let's go to the crop rotation. Farmers know mechanical management. Ma konya kwa sauto nongwa cheke kwa nari mashoma. Ine mere mtu benu mgono. Mafama dacha nongi. Akangona one gonye pamunda. Because lamb da nengita $2. They go to the shop. Two magonye ma fola mwemoro makatu akuto spray the whole field. So mangonga ati chitswanya. And it's ma veggie pamba pepe. Do you know that water can actually control your aphids? Kana sina kwenye kwanda. Mvura che kutoma geza na hata dzobva. But varimwedu mazwano vakuda mshonga zvakanyanya. Tiri kuti isusu That is not the correct kind of farming. Correct kind of farming is integrated pest management. Let's go to the next. Hand picking, I've already explained. Let's go to the next. Manual is no shandao. Do you know kuti tinokwasa kutoti mumunda muti wedu we-citrus tinokwasa kutozunguza muti makonya akadona? And you know that? Shaking is actually a method that you can use to control pests on your farm. Then flaming, I think you have seen. Then the issue of traps, ma traps ano yakawanda. Kune ma fall armworm traps for maize. Kune ma fruit fly traps. Then we madomasiwo, matuta traps and stuff. These are just to manage kuti pesting awande regard mashoma so that you can come up with the intervention. So they're a very good measure of controlling. Let's go to the next. Trap crops. The preferred.
I think it's 2 minutes to go.
Okay, it's fine. So we are saying you have got your munda. So your preferred crop, unoisa imwe isiri preferred. Usually get attractive and bright. So that my pests usually they relate to my bright colors. Then they come and harm that one, which is not the target. Shika to your what? To your preferred crop. That's another method that you can do. There are so many things that you can do in terms of IPM. But the MC is saying, okay, the DC is saying 2 minutes. Let's go to the next. Exclusion. Let's go to the next. This one is not in Zim. Let's go to the next. Sanitation comes back again. Let's go to the next. Biological management. Let's go to the next. Beneficials. So this concept of beneficials is really failing to take off in Zim. Farmers are not really keen, but this is a very good way of controlling your pests. Let's go Panana Rudo. Let's go to the next. Pani example and you know that this one. So if you see this comrade, so you find they attract pests and they actually. Okay, sorry, it's not the one. Let's go to the next. Okay, this one. So there are creatures that can actually catch, kill, and eat insects, like this one. Skafama nengachifanga kuti mamunda pake orima matachka, orima izvo zvese kuitira zvomubatsire kukontrola mapests. Si vari medu muZimbabwe vaskuda. And let's go to the next. So these are actually live pests, but these live pests can actually control other pests. So these pests, we call them beneficial pests. It's something that is being done in other countries successfully. But unfortunately, if you use those too much chemicals, you actually knock all these. So you find my efforts are going because you have got beneficial insects and then you come in with your lambda and whatever and then you knock them off. So you're not achieving anything. So you have to use the less toxic chemicals, the green chemicals, the biologicals, the biorational chemicals. That's the one that you are supposed to use.
Allow me to say thank you. Take your seat. Thank you.
Let me wrap up. Let's go to the final slide, which talks about review. Right. So in total, you have to keep plants healthy. You have to identify the plant and the pest. You have to study the pest biology. Target the weakest link. For pest management, use cultural, mechanical, biological, and finally, your chemical. Only treat with pesticides after all of the other methods explode. Use the least toxic chemicals, and I thank you.